Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies here at RacineSportsZone.com. I'm Steve Sparky Fifer, co-host of the Wendy's Big Show weekday afternoons on AM 1250 and 105.7 FM The Fan from 2 till 6. He is Gery Woelfel at the other end of the table, of course, columnist here at the Racine Journal-Times. And in the middle, Coach Treutelaar from Racine Horlick. Coach, thanks for coming in.
The man in the middle. And how tall?
5'9".
There you go, but he's scrappy, right?
That's right. Not very wide of shoulders, but
there you go.
All right, so let's talk a little bit first, obviously, about your basketball team and how you guys are doing. You guys got off to a pretty quick start, everything going well, and now hit a little bit of a rough patch here the last 4 games.
yeah, we have. We've struggled. We played some tougher competition. Last night against Oconomowoc, who's one of the better suburban teams in the area. I don't think people know much about them, but they've got some nice depth, and we had to travel out to their place. We came out flat yesterday. And then, of course, we had to run into the buzzsaw that everyone has seen at Racine Park on Friday night, and we got a chance to see up close and personal how good they really are.
They're as good as advertised?
Yes, they are.
Yeah?
Yeah, they are. Well, the size, first of all, is what wore us down in the second half.
Yeah.
And they're only getting better. I think that, these freshmen that they have, by the time we get to the end of the season, you won't be talking about them as being freshmen. They're just varsity basketball
The problem
players.
is it's not college, so they don't get to leave after their freshman year.
That's right.
They don't get to be like, dude, I'm declaring, I'm out. See you guys later. Good
Right,
luck,
unless they decide to transfer out and go somewhere else.
Right.
They will be there for another 3 more years.
Yeah, you better be careful what you say. The WIAA might be monitoring
Yes,
this, and
right.
you just said transfer. We don't want to get in.
I apologize for that.
I'd
like to rescind that. Yeah.
How long did that take to get a shot in? About 3 minutes.
No, but I mean, seriously, that is something that, Parker could really be building something here considering how young that team is.
Oh, most definitely. When you take a look at the freshmen that they have, led by Noble Days, but there's a handful of guards that they have that go along with him that are going to be exceptionally tough. And I haven't seen a freshman class like that since I've been here.
Really?
And they're that good. Their height just wore us down. They were too tough in the post. Kai and Noble, the 2 brothers, were just too much for us to handle the last 8 minutes of that ball game, and give them credit. They did what they had to do, and they're going to be one tough out, come tournament time this season.
Having said that, though, I was really impressed with your team. I think were you ahead at halftime by a point or down by a point at halftime?
We were up by 1 at half.
1 at halftime, and you guys were hitting your perimeter shots. Especially, was it Lewis and Triggs, as I recall?
Correct.
But you were with Park up until the last 2 minutes of the game. It was anybody's game. And I thought that was, a great illustration of your potential and what kind of team you do have.
Well, yeah, we were right there. And our outside shooting, that's what we live and die by. We just don't have the size underneath to be able to, play with our backs to the basket too much. And so because of that, we have to knock down those outside shots. And we were able to do that in the first half, but in the second half, we weren't able to get to the free throw line as much. We didn't have that attack mentality that we had maybe more so in the first half to try to get the paint touches through dribble penetration. And because of it, we weren't able to, get it done the last 2 minutes of that game.
You do have some very good perimeter shooters.
Yes, we do.
Trigg and Lewis. Is there a temptation to say, hey, shoot them, or is there a temptation to say, hey, let's try to go to the basket and get our shots inside?
Well, we want to create scoring opportunities by getting dribble penetration, but we also know that, if we're able to get open looks with those guys in the perimeter, we have to take advantage of that.
So you give them pretty much a green light if they got an open three-pointer to take it?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because we've talked about this before on the post-game show after Bucks games a little bit, and maybe touched on it on our afternoon show. And Gery and I have talked about it too. The NBA as it currently sits here, the last couple of years, with Steph Curry doing what he's doing, Golden State doing what he's doing, do you think it's had an influence on kids coming up now that they're really focusing on the jump shot compared back to the Jordan era? Everybody's worried about the dunk and everything else, and outside perimeter shooting really suffered, in my opinion at least, 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. It seems like now, college for sure, you're seeing a lot more three-point shooters coming up through the college ranks, and it looks like it's also translating to high school basketball.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. Kids are really focusing on that outside shot, and even the bigs, so to speak.
Right.
When you go to the next level, you have to be able to stretch the defense and knock down that outside shot. And unless you're a 6'10", 6'11" ball player, you're going to have to probably not be able to knock it down from beyond the arc to be able to play at the college level. And in high school level, you've got 6'7", 6'8" kids who aren't playing with their back to the basket nearly as much. They want to face up and knock down that outside shot. And I think some of the teaching and the coaching that happens at the lower levels is better now, than what it used to be. Kids are really getting some good exposure, and they're able to knock down, these outside shots at that 8th, 9th, 10th grade level, whereas in the past maybe you didn't see quite as good of perimeter shooters.
Do you remember, I was going to interrupt, just one quick thing. Do you remember Mickey Crow, or was he before your time?
He was before my time, but I've heard plenty about Mickey Crow.
Mickey Crow was Wisconsin's high school version of Steph Curry. I mean, he would come across half court looking to shoot. Yeah. And he had the fortune of playing for his father. So his father gave him the green light. But he's the only player I've ever seen in Wisconsin that as soon as he got over half court was looking for a shot, something what Curry does today.
Yeah, and sometimes kids, when they see that, they will force shots. We have guys on our own roster who sometimes don't realize the difference between a good shot, an open shot, and a contested shot. And that's part of the growing process, I guess, as you're a high school basketball player.
From your side, obviously you guys can score. I think everybody knows that when they play Horlick that you guys can score. How are you defensively?
Well, right now we're not where we need to be. And to be honest with you, I'm disappointed, especially with our defensive effort last night at Oconomowoc. We want to be a full court pressing team, but that takes a certain mentality. And sometimes when we don't have shots going down, we sometimes lose our intensity on the defensive end.
Happens in the NBA too.
Guys kind of get disappointed with themselves, with their teammates, and that intensity isn't there. And we need to pick that up. If we're going to have a successful second half of the season, our guys are going to have to realize the significance of being able to shut people down. Now, when you take the Indian Trails game, for example, we put up 111 points. They score 94. Our defense wasn't all that bad in that game because obviously when you're going to have more possessions, yes, there's going to be more points scored, and they can light it up too. 29 threes in a game, 15 by Trails.
That's crazy.
That's a lot of fun for people to watch, and I wouldn't say that was a poor defensive game. We were just going up and down the court, and we were able to keep them out of the paint. They only got to the free throw line 4 times, and I think that's got to be an indicator as to how good your half-court defense is if you're not putting the opponent to the free throw line.
Well, what is it like from a coaching and player standpoint when you're in a game like that? I mean, the kids coming to the sidelines going, oh, man, this is crazy out there. I mean, nobody's missing shots.
You kind of just take a seat and you watch and you enjoy it.
That's pretty much it, right?
Well, you're happy to be a part of something like this. You wish you could see more games like that.
And you didn't even have to pay to get in.
That's right. It was free. And I got a front row seat.
Gary's the king of not liking the new shot clock rule that they have in the WIAA from basketball. Do you like it? Because it does seem like there's more higher scoring games.
Wait a second. Where did I become the king of? You said for it or against it?
Against it.
You never said that?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh,
this is what I got to put up with. Everybody, I actually feel like a coach being misquoted.
I'm glad I'm in the middle of this.
Absolutely right. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I personally would love to see a shot clock in high school basketball, but I understand the reasons why they can't. And the number one reason is the cost. You'd have to hire somebody to specifically do the shot clock. You can't have...
For what? $8 an hour?
Well,
what is minimum wage? I don't even know what minimum wage is. Whatever minimum wage is, I mean, that's what you're going to pay somebody to run.
It's another responsibility for the officials to, I'm just telling you the reasons why they don't want to do it. You got to install those things. That's going to be extra cost.
That I understand.
But you've got to squeeze that extra person into the scores table there. And that's going to be an extra work.
I would be totally opposed to that because I sit right on the end of that table.
And then you're out.
Yeah, I'll be up in the upper decks.
Right.
So, I would like it personally. You get into some of these games where teams want to make 12, 15 passes. But that's, But that's how they slow a team like you down. That's right, and we want to, see the game extended. That's why I really like the halves. Okay, it's an extra 4 minutes of game time throughout. It's 36 minutes now, but the flow of the game is much better.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to sit there and watch a guy play for one shot at the minute 30 mark of the first quarter.
There you go.
Play
Do the
for
same.
one shot
You
again.
know what?
You know,
That is the best point for this that I've heard.
Exactly.
It makes great sense.
it really does. The flow of the game is much better. You're able to get a kid or two extra playing time.
Sure.
You know, and we're all for that type of stuff. So depth is, you know, a little bit more of an issue now.
I just don't. I mean, look, part of high school is getting kids ready for the college level. Maybe not all high school kids will get to play D1 basketball or D2 or whatever. I understand that. But when you get to that next level, there's going to be a shot clock that you're going to have to deal with. So why wouldn't you have that as part of the high school experience to get them ready? The only thing I can think of is, going back to what you said, which is those kids or those schools, which there's a bunch of in the state, that can't compete with what you guys can bring to the table. They want to give those teams still a chance to win when we get to tournament time, to give them that opportunity. That's the only thing I can think of.
So, in other words, our friends to the north wouldn't want to play basketball anymore?
Well, I don't know if they
We're
were
referring to Oak Creek?
Well, no.
I mean, they play a slow-down game,
Sure
correct?
they do. Right.
Yes,
I mean,
they do.
that would not fall into what they would want to do, obviously.
It wouldn't, but then they would have,
And
everybody
they've
would
had
have to
success
adjust.
at it, you know.
Let me ask you this. Would it take away, I don't know if there's even, would it take away the amount of parity that there is in high school basketball if you went to a shot clock?
It might.
That's a good question.
See, you
Yeah,
didn't,
I
you
mean,
didn't see this one
yeah.
coming. You didn't
No.
know
No,
this
I
one.
didn't. No, I'm not prepared for
He
this.
thought he had us all figured out.
Wrong.
We'll ask you that the next time.
Okay.
No. I'm serious. Do you think it would take, because in my opinion, I think it would destroy parity in the state. In this state. Now, I don't know about other states, but here in Wisconsin, especially come tournament time, I think you would see a lot more blowouts.
That, I can see where you're coming from. I never thought about it from that standpoint, to be honest with you. If you had 45 seconds on that shot clock, that might not make as much of a... If you went to something like 30 seconds,
Right.
then I could see it.
Yep.
You know, 45 seconds, somewhere in that vicinity, it would, you know, take away from some of the parity, I think. And you would probably get, you know, more city schools who might make it to the WIAA tournament. But you take a look at the way things are set up right now. You're only getting one from Milwaukee.
Which is
You're-
stupid.
Okay, yeah, I mean, this is a whole nother
It's really
discussion
stupid.
in and
Yeah,
of
you
But
know,
itself.
that goes
you know
right
what?
back to those guys at WIAA.
These segments usually go like 6 or 7 minutes. We
Right.
got like a Homeland series here. Well, I mean, we must be at the 15-minute mark.
Doesn't matter. Hey, Greg's just giving up. But that's the other thing. I mean, because what is the responsibility if you're running the WIAA? I mean, if you're in charge, right? If you're Dave Anderson, Deb Hauser, all those people up there, what is your job? Is your job to make it so every team has a fair chance in the state, or is your job to make sure that the best teams have the best chance of getting to state?
No comment.
Oh, man, come on! No comment! We're done! That's it! It's over! He says no commenting, I'm done!
Gary, I'm going to pass this one to you.
Okay,
You
write
can
down
lead.
and I'll read what you said.
Right.
They can't come
Yeah.
back to you, you know? It's
Right.
No
Good luck.
paper trail,
Right,
right?
exactly right. I'm done growing up.
No, I mean, if you're the WIAA, obviously you're cared about the entire state if you have true intentions. But I don't think they've actually had true intentions, especially when it's come to the state tournament for boys basketball. I mean, how many teams come out of this area? One, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in the past, you basically had 2 every year. And somebody's getting squeezed.
Why can't you
I mean, we
just-
could spend an hour talking
But wait a
about
second,
that. But
why can't you just cut up the state and just make it be, okay, we're going to take the southern portion of the state, here you go. You're going to have your own state championship type deal for the division. And then the central and northern part of the state, they can have their own championship as well.
Why would that be much different than the current setup?
Because the difference is right now you're getting one Milwaukee school there to Wisconsin, to Madison, or wherever you're going to play, Green Bay, wherever you want to go, right?
He has given up.
Right. But what I'm saying is, instead of putting everybody together and saying,
Yeah.
okay, you Green Bay school, you get to play the one representative from the Milwaukee Racine Kenosha area, screw that. Just you get your Final Four from that part of the state to go play in Madison, and this part gets their Final Four for Division I or whatever,
Yeah.
and they get to go play in Madison. Instead of putting all, because that's really what it is. They don't want to see, in my opinion, they don't want to see a bunch of Division I teams come from down in the Racine, Milwaukee area. Because
but
if that happens, they know they're in trouble, and they know these other teams aren't going to be able to beat them.
There has been good basketball in the northern part of the state.
When you got 7-footers, if you can get a Butch or somebody like that.
No, there's been a lot of good teams from the northern part of the state.
Gary, I'll tell you what right now.
What?
I'll take his team, Park, you give me whatever you want, and I'll take whatever schools you want up there, and we'll play a best-of-3 series, best-of-5 series, and I'm going to take my guys.
Nobody's going to play best-of-5. That's
no,
not the way it's
because they can't win a best-of-5. They can't win a best-of-3.
Go look at the state tournament champions. There have been a bunch of them north of
Gary, I'm telling you right now, you go give me your teams in Stevens Point or wherever you want to go. Bring them down here. Throw them in the Southeast. See how they do.
There aren't as
Bring them down here. Throw them in the Milwaukee City. See how they do. They are going to survive.
Enjoying the conversation.
Well, you know, like I said, I'm glad I'm the guy in the middle on this whole thing. Yes, that's right.
So you just ended it when you want to end it, okay?
Well,
are we over?
No, I think it's a great topic. You know, one we talked about last year and probably would be talking about for years to come here. But I just wish we could go back to, and I know that people always say you're never going to go back to the old system.
I know where you're going.
Because I understand where you're coming from. And I get your points too. I just love the 4-division setup that we used to have, where you had 8 Division I teams up there. Yep. And the sad thing is that there's, especially you take a look at the past 5 or 7 years, and we haven't had 8 Division I teams up there for what is it, about 4 or 5 years now at least. Yeah. Look at all the talent that has gone through those schools, Division I's, and has not been able to go to Madison. And instead, we are having these smaller schools, which I'm not insulting the smaller schools, but you're replacing these big schools that bring a lot of kids and a lot of people to these games, regardless of what the WIAA says. Those quarterfinals were highly attended.
I agree.
Totally. Okay? Totally. And instead, we're adding these smaller schools that have got 6'1" post guys, and we're not, you know, it's a different kind of basketball that I don't think has the allure that what the Division I teams have.
I agree.
And instead, you know, now you get one team from here. You've got to have 4 in all 5 divisions, and I think it's really hurt the exposure. You know, we don't get our minority kids the exposure like we used to have. You know, for some of these kids, their only platform to play in front of some coaches to be able to play at the next level was to get to the state tournament.
Very good point.
And now those opportunities aren't there for them.
I agree. Here's Coach Treutelaar over at Racine Horlick, and what I've learned over the course of my time living in this state is, as long as the basketball coach at Cuba City is happy, then everything can go on. Enjoy the rest of your day here at RacineSportsZone.com.
Let's talk about that now for a minute.
See you later.